Thank you and good morning. It's a pleasure being here. I hope someday I can be where you are. I'm very honored that you actually came out to listen and are still curious enough to come hear us talk about some of these things. Hopefully you'll find some bit of value from what we had to share. And I'm going to share a little bit about kind of my path and then extract a couple of learnings that relate to what Gary Winnick was talking about. He mentioned, if you saw him speak a little earlier, I've been involved on the MEM advisory board and really trying to understand how engineering curriculum needs to change to support the kind of global economy we're in today. It's something that I feel pretty strongly about, but had no idea I would when I was in Ken McCarl's class, sitting here in case just going to school, if you will. I'm founder and CEO of this company called Share This. You may recognize the logo on the internet. It's on 800,000 domains, reaches over 400 million people every month who see it. Most of my employees are out in Mountain View, California. We have an office right across the street from Google. And the thesis of this was that as the internet gets larger and larger, that there's going to be a limit to how much benefit we get from search. If you use Google search, it works really well for something you are looking for, but not necessarily for something you don't know you're looking for, which often comes through shared pieces of content that people send to you. And it turns out, through some studies, it found that most people, their primary source of new information was what people sent to them. So we said, what if we could focus just on sharing, that one little function on the internet, and just really small, it sounded stupid at the time, just focus on sharing. And as social media and consumer-generated media grows, is more popular, sharing is going to become more important. So it took off like wildfire. We're on small sites, we're on large sites, and we have a team in Mountain View that's investing in data that we produce about 20 to 25 terabytes of data every month on what people are sharing. And we can use that data to better enhance targeted marketing. So if you're a marketer trying to sell deodorant or a new movie, and we can find a population of 10 million people that are sharing things about that concept or that topic, and we can put ads in front of them, it turns out they respond much better than even to search ads. So that's the basis of this company. It's obviously something that I'm pretty excited about currently, but let's step back and just kind of look at how we got there. So I'm a Cleveland native. My dad was a Vietnam vet, worked at Republican LTD Steel. I helped him out there one summer. Did pretty well in school and was able to get into Case. And my family, I have 36 cousins on one side. Most of them didn't go to college necessarily at the time. They all worked for their parents and their little family businesses. And it was a very exciting, prestigious thing to come to Case Western. And I knew I had a knack for science and technology, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I made it through Case, and won't say I had the straight A's at the time. However, there were a couple of exciting things that happened, and this, I think, is what makes this place special. So I'm also a musician. My family are all musicians. And I talked to my advisor in the engineering department. I said, there's something happening with computers and music. And this is the mid-'80s. And I'd really like to figure out what's going on there and learn more about that. And he said, well, funny you should say that. There's a professor over at the Cleveland Institute of Music that's thinking about putting together a program that combines engineering and music. I said, great. So we put together a curriculum, and I was one of the first 5 students. Turns out I was the only engineering student of the 5. The others were fairly tech-oriented musicians. And we started this curriculum. And I didn't necessarily realize at the time the impact that would have. And that curriculum lived on, and for my senior project, I actually built a digital signal processor that did some things in music applications. And I got to befriend one of the engineering professors who went on to Qualcomm, Dr. Farouk Hatibi, and he worked with me on a senior project, and it was a terrific experience. And for the first time, I was able to take all this technology that I was learning about in the classroom and apply it to something. And that's where I got really excited. That's what really started to motivate me. It caused me to be even more intellectually curious. But the experience also helped because it found out that I could actually kind of make an impact and change something. And if there wasn't a curriculum today, maybe there could be tomorrow. I just had to bring up the idea. So it started to build a little bit more, confidence in me, and that's the confidence that I try to encourage others that either work for me or people that seek some advice, is that you never know what might happen. Ask the question. Go out and don't be afraid to ask and to push for something that you think might be useful. So after school, it kind of relates to the hello world phase here. I was attracted to a small company in Cincinnati. Now, I applied, and at the time I used Macintosh computers, which the school had in some of the labs, but most people weren't hiring for people that used Macs. The hiring was General Motors, IBM, PCs, mainframes, those types of things. But I was a quirky guy that used a Mac at the music school. And it turns out that some of the founders of this little company also were musicians and engineers. And they saw that on my resume, and they called, and they said, "Oh, you've got to come down here." Well, it turns out it was Neil Armstrong's sons. I had no idea until 6 months after I was working there, when they started telling me stories about going on cruises with Isaac Asimov. And I said, "Wait, who are you?" It launched me into this company, and I started out doing technology. And again, tying it back to Case, I didn't really know necessarily what I wanted to do at the time. And I was supporting Procter & Gamble with a lot of technology and computers. And at some point, somebody said, I still remember they said, you understand the technology, but you're able to make it simple so that I can understand it. And that's a very valuable skill. And I always remembered that, and went from being a technology person, an engineer, to being involved in sales and marketing, and continuing to leverage that skill. Again, had no idea the confidence I would have after coming out of Case with an engineering degree, and how much weight that carries in the rest of the world, and confidence it gives you when dealing with others. So that company grew, I grew, moved on into what I'll call exploration phase, where I wasn't sure whether I was an entrepreneur or was just lucky at the time. So I did a variety of different consulting projects, including a number of projects internationally, in Asia, working on customer-driven design, so total quality methods and whatnot. And then the basement startup phase that Carl could probably relate to, writing checks out of my own checking account, having people in the basement working on computers. And that led me to a presentation where one of the local venture capital firms in Cincinnati, Blue Chip Venture Company, saw me present and asked me to join them. And I had always thought that was my lifelong dream, get into venture capital, because you deal with all sorts of technology across the board, get to fund these interesting ideas. Blue Chip was the first venture fund in Cincinnati, started in 1992, and I joined and was there about 10 years. And that's the pinch me, I'm dreaming phase. So here I was, like a kid in a candy store. I had approximately 5 new business plans presented to me every day. And over 10 years, you get to see a lot of patterns, right? Whether it's medical or computer engineering, no matter what it is, you see a lot of patterns. And I'm still not sure I can tell you what those patterns are, but you just see them over time. And one of the patterns I saw was this search was getting tapped out and sharing was going to become the next thing. So I started talking about it and thinking about how to incubate it. And I remembered that there was a professor whose book I read earlier on just because I was interested in it. His name was Dr. Dave Goldberg. He started at the University of Michigan under Professor Holland, who created the idea of genetic algorithms, which were a new type of a mathematical method or optimization method for dealing with large, unstructured data sets.